Acting to the playoffs as of right now and where every team sits. The first series we will be talking about will be Miami versus Milwaukee. The most surprising series. A lot of takes from this. First of all, Jimmy Butler is him. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. In the playoffs, he is the man with the plan. He is the one that wants the ball in his hands. It's crazy because in the regular season, he just coasts. But then we see him and he's carrying the load. Bam Adebayo's inconsistent. Tyler Hero broke his hand on a play. Yet they still managed to win this series. Is it possible for them to beat New York and even make it to the Eastern Conference Finals? Yes, it is. And I believe that Jimmy will hold his own, and I believe the Heat are the surprise of the season, and I believe if they want to and everything goes their way, they can make a far run. But if we look at the Bucks side of things, we obviously see Giannis was just so disappointed. If we look at the press conference, he was very disappointed. Someone asked him if the season was a failure, and he just broke down. Like, he was just so upset. He didn't cry or anything, but you could see the pain in his face and just the reaction he had. And we have to keep this into perspective. He was injured 2 games, and he only played 11 minutes in game 1. Who knows how that series turns out? He was dealing with a lower back issue, which I've dealt with lower back pains and lower back injuries, and it's not a fun experience, especially when you're playing basketball. It messes with you psychologically, so who knows what Giannis was dealing with mentally on top of physically. So does this affect his legacy? Absolutely not. Is he the best player in the world? For the most part, I still believe he is until further notice. I believe it depends who wins the championship, who wins the title this year, and who is the last team standing. As for Mike Budenholzer, he did a lot of questionable things throughout this entire series. He had 2 timeouts in the fourth quarter as well as overtime. Did not choose to use them at all. I don't blame him for not playing Brook Lopez because Miami was playing 5 wings, so it would be stupid because Brook Lopez would not be able to guard the 3. So I don't blame him for that, but I do blame him for not calling any timeouts as well as having Grayson Allen have the ball in the last 5 seconds. As soon as you see Grayson Allen having the ball, you need to call a timeout immediately to get a play, at least to send it to a double overtime. But who knows what happens with this Bucks roster? Obviously, I don't think they're going to make a lot of changes just because they were the best team in the entire NBA. And without Giannis getting injured, who knows how far they go. It's just, I feel like they need another star player around Giannis because Chris Middleton's knees aren't as good as they used to be. And his roster, for the most part, is over the age of 30. Like, this team is not getting any younger. So let's see what they do in the offseason. A series in Atlanta with Boston. Boston heavily favored just because they are the number 2 seed compared to Atlanta's number 7 seed. And Boston beats them in 6. Don't really trust Boston. They seem a little shaky. They played around too much with Atlanta. They gave Atlanta some hope, and I was surprised that they didn't get swept. Atlanta fought hard, and even when there was trade rumors about their best player, Trae Young, I still believe that he will get traded in the offseason just because he's a very inconsistent player. His efficiency is not there, and after all, he is one of the biggest causes of why they lost this series, just because he's inefficient and he had 4 games that were just completely bad and he can't defend. So if you have a guard that's small, that's 5'11", that cannot defend, you are going to get beaten, especially how inefficient he is. So just a series that we all knew how it was going to end. It ended how it was supposed to, but Boston looks a little suspicious now for their title chances. Going to Brooklyn and Philadelphia, not much being said. Philadelphia did what they needed to do. They swept Brooklyn. It was a fun series regardless, just seeing Mikal Bridges just do his thing, showing that he can be a star in today's league, and hopefully they build around him. They kind of remind me of the 2018 Nets and just how they cooperated and just how they moved and just how much fun they would have. And it was such a deep team, just no real star. Mikal Bridges will be an all-star in the near future though. However, there is some issues with that team. I still think they need another shot creator because Spencer Dinwiddie wasn't really hitting shots. Cam Johnson's really a catch and shoot three guy, and they need to fix a lot of things in the summer. When it comes to Philadelphia, if they really want to make a deep run, and they will be playing Boston, which I think it goes to 7. It can go either way just because they're both such talented teams. It really depends on these two players. Joel Embiid, who I think is going to be the MVP of the season. He played great. He was phenomenal. His numbers were superstar numbers across the board. You can even make a case he was the best player in the league. However, he is injured. He had a right knee strain, and it's every year with him. It's every year that he gets injured, and I want to see him at 100% because I know the monster he can truly be. And I really do believe against Boston, he will become that monster just because I don't feel like they have enough to guard Joel Embiid. But another key factor is James Harden. James Harden has a really bad track record with playoff performances, and he struggles. So they need James Harden to at least average 24-9, 25-8, something of that caliber, just to be an all-star player. Just the peak James Harden, not even Houston James Harden, but Brooklyn Nets Harden when he was averaging like 24-11. That's what they would truly need on efficient shooting. These two players really need to stand out in order for them to even have a chance to make the finals. Because unlike Boston, I truly believe that Philadelphia could beat Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals if Miami were to beat New York. I feel like that's a better matchup than the New York Knicks against Philadelphia. I truly believe that Miami will beat New York, but off topic, I truly believe that these two players are the key contributors and the key forces for them to succeed in the playoffs. It's truly an interesting series just because I had the Cavs winning this series in 7. So the fact that they got gentlemen swept is quite a shocker, but it really all comes down to how deep the New York Knicks are. I really haven't been following them for the sake of just there's better teams. There's been more teams that have surprised me. And the fact that the New York Knicks are as good as they are scary. I still don't have them beating Miami in the second round because Miami did advance, but they are a deep team and they will give Miami some problems. However, it really all adds up to Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is just a dog. He proved that this season, and despite Dallas not wanting to give him a big contract, he made sure he told the whole world by his play style and how he contributed to New York that he deserved that big contract because he just did a phenomenal job just leading the New York Knicks because he's been there before and he's been able to perform in big moments. However, as you look deeper into the Cavs roster, you notice some things. This Cavs team is not as deep as you would like it to be because if you have Robin Lopez, playing playoff minutes, that's a problem. When you have Cedi Osman not playing as well as you think, when you have Isaac Okoro not really making any shot creation, just being a great defender. I'm not going to discredit his defense because he should be on an all-NBA defensive team at minimum second. When you have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley that can't work outside 10 to 15 feet, at the bare most, that's what you're going to get out of Evan Mobley because Evan Mobley has the only difference he has compared to Jared Allen is he has a deeper bag. He has a better handle. When you have Ricky Rubio hardly not playing, your only two shot creators are Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. And Darius Garland, for the majority of the time, in this series, 3 out of 5 games, he played horrific and really just leaves you up to Donovan Mitchell. And Donovan Mitchell could get all the hate, but he really doesn't deserve it just because the team wasn't as deep as I thought. And this team has a lot of issues. They have a lot of guys that can shoot and they have a lot of guys that can defend, but they don't have enough guys that can do both. Or they don't have enough guys that can do shot creation. And unless they make some moves in the offseason, this is going to be where their ceiling is at with this team. And it's also big to note, even if they trade for a star player, first of all, they don't have the assets to even trade for OG Anunoby. Second off, even if they did one big move, it wouldn't help them in this case. So it's going to be interesting to see where the Cavaliers take their directions next. We covered the East, let's cover the West. We go to another meaningless series, Denver versus Timberwolves, 1 versus the 8 seed. We kind of knew what was going to happen. The Timberwolves just hadn't been consistent all year. And Nikola Jokic was just playing out of his mind this season. He was, at one point, a consensus MVP candidate. He still is, but he's probably not going to win it this year. And the Nuggets just did what they needed to do, did it pretty convincingly. All I have to say is make Anthony Edwards your centerpiece, make him your star player, because Karl Anthony Towns is not good enough to be your centerpiece on a franchise. And they just need to start building around him, get some young depth, get a couple veterans, and then you guys could be right back to where you were back in the playoffs. This is the Clippers and the Suns next. I'm not going to lie. The Suns look horrific. They do not look good. Sure, they gentlemen swept the Clippers, but two of their star players were not available. Their best player, who was out playing Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, missed 3 games. What is known to be found out now was a torn meniscus on the same knee. He tore his right ACL, as well as every single game was close. They were missing star power, the Clippers were. And I have a feeling if the Suns face Denver in the second round, which they are going to face, Denver is fully healthy, Denver is fully loaded, they have talent, they have depth on their bench, which Phoenix is lacking. I truly believe the Suns will be exposed in the second round. So I'm not entirely impressed. Devin Booker, however, did play phenomenal. Kevin Durant didn't look great for his standards, being a top 10 player at worst. And I just don't trust this team at all. Remember when the Clippers in 2020 got Kawhi and Paul George? As for this Clippers team, I think it's over. They're paying one of the largest luxury taxes just for their 2 star players to be injured, hardly ever even playing together. And it's so disappointing because I really thought they were a contender, and they've been a contender every single year if they would have been healthy. But that's the biggest question, if, because they never are. So it's like you put yourself in this predicament where, do you want to blow it up? Do you want to give it another year? Is Kawhi even going to be ready for the next season? Is Paul George going to be ready with his shoulder injury? Are you bringing Russell Westbrook back? How does the roster shape up? Like, this team has a lot of questions to answer. I just feel so bad for their 2 star players, because I'm actually a fan of both of the star players, because they're actually very good and talented players that steer no controversy. So I want them to see them succeed. I want Paul George to win his first chip. I want Russell Westbrook to win another chip, but it just doesn't seem likely because this team is just too injury prone, and with their ages, and they're just going to increase of age, so those knees or their body isn't going to get any stronger. So I want to see what Steve Ballmer does in the offseason. Probably been one of the most fun series for me because I am a Lakers fan and a Warriors fan, so it's going to hurt when I see them collide in the second round, but it looks like what it is, because Kobe Bryant is my favorite player of all time, and Stephen Curry right now currently is my favorite player currently playing, as well as my second favorite player of all time. So it's going to be an interesting series, but looking at Lakers versus Grizzlies, it's been a fun series, just interesting. Both teams kind of going back and forth, both teams taking care of their home court advantage. However, Los Angeles was able to steal game 1 on the road. I do believe Los Angeles will be able to defeat them in game 6. Question being, however, is how do LeBron and AD capitalize on this opportunity to win a championship? Because LeBron in the past 5 games has not looked like his normal self. He's looked a little older. Yes, he had a 2020 performance, but it just didn't seem like the LeBron back 5 years ago in 2018 when he was averaging 35-30. I'm not asking him to do that, but it just seems like he has lost a step. And Anthony Davis has been very inconsistent. And if you go against a team like the Warriors, or if you go even further to the Suns or the Nuggets, and you play like this, you're not going to stand a chance. The Grizzlies are without their 2 centers, and Ja Morant has a hand injury, so I think they did get the luck of the draw. But however, if they play like this, LeBron looking old and Anthony Davis inconsistent, they will lose in the second round or in the Western Conference Finals. All I got to say about Memphis is that's why you stop talking. Because Ja Morant said he was fine in the West, and Dillon Brooks said he liked to poke bears. LeBron is not playing at his best, and he's still shooting 60% on your head, Dillon. You don't want to talk to the media after you lose, even though it's part of your contract to talk to the media regardless if you win or lose. Sometimes you just got to stay quiet, and it's interesting what we're going to see from Memphis in the offseason, because there are people that speculate that Dillon Brooks might not even be on the team. So we'll see what happens in the offseason, because this team has a lot of humbling to do, as well as just off-season moves they need to do. Actually, my favorite team and my favorite current player as of right now, and the funnest series to see, most stressful for me because I love this Golden State Warriors team. Golden State versus Sacramento. This has been such a fun series, and I firmly believe whoever wins this series has a great chance of going to the NBA Finals. The Warriors just battle-tested and understanding what it takes to win an NBA Finals and get through the playoffs. And the Sacramento Kings are just hungry. They haven't been in the playoffs for 16 years. Game 5, I feel, was a pivotal point in the series, however, because the Golden State Warriors were 11-30 on the road, managed to steal a home game from Sacramento, and now they're taking it back to their home court, and now they can have a chance to finish the series, and move on to the second round, which I firmly believe they can beat the Lakers and then possibly make it to the finals, because they have a good chance against Denver because their interior defense isn't great. And then Phoenix doesn't have not a lot of depth. So you're asking your starters to play 40-plus minutes, and it brings you right back to the finals. However, the Kings do have a future top 10 player in the making, a superstar, a guy who will not quit, a guy who's playing with a broken index finger, De'Aaron Fox. I said it for the past 3 years that he was underrated. People did not believe me. People did not believe in him. And he's one of my favorite players. He's such a hardworking dude, and he just does not quit. He's been going crazy, averaging 30 this series, and don't expect him to go down without a fight. He's a great player, and he's been a shock to a lot of people of how good he's been this past season, but I always knew he was this good. But don't be surprised if sooner or later Sacramento in the next 3 to 5 years wins a championship. As for the Warriors, they are showing their championship pedigree, and don't be surprised if they win this championship. It is their championship to lose. If we look at the second round, if they play Los Angeles is getting old, and Anthony Davis is inconsistent. The Grizzlies have injuries written all over. Phoenix lacks depth. They have to play their starters 40 minutes plus, and if one of their stars gets injured, it's over. The Nuggets have horrible interior defense. As great as Nikola Jokic is on offense, he is weak in the interior. He is a terrible interior defender, and he can get beat on the perimeter easily. If we look over in the East, Miami is not built for the finals. They have multiple undrafted players and buyout players that you buy out on the market when their contracts get bought out so they can leave their previous team. If you look at the New York Knicks, they have a lot of great players, but their third player is inconsistent. And in order for them to win a finals, he has to be a major X factor. If we look at Boston, they do not look good despite the fact that they beat Atlanta, even though they were supposed to be at Atlanta sooner than expected. And if we look at Philadelphia, what is James Harden really going to do in the playoffs? I'm not scared of what Joel Embiid is going to do, because I know Joel Embiid is going to be a superstar. But what is James Harden going to do? What is Tyrese Maxey going to do? What is Tobias Harris going to do? With his playoff history not performing in the lightest of lights, the only threat that I see is Los Angeles Lakers, just because they are also battle-tested. It would really be the battle of 5 rings in the second round. And I truly believe whoever wins that second round between Golden State and Los Angeles is winning the NBA championship. And don't be surprised if Golden State wins another championship. Is their championship to lose now that Milwaukee has been eliminated from the playoffs. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you guys want more NBA content like this, reactions, or vlogs, or 1v1s, stay tuned. And I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.